Hey all, Kelly of Kelbell Studio here with the February edition of the Corset project. And this month I did something a little bit different, actually quite a bit different, in that this is actually, I pleated the paper, which now comes out below my corset form and becomes part of the design, so I didn't even really need to add any extra paper on there. This is how she looks all laced up, and she's really kind of simple. This is, I'm calling her the Uptown corset. My inspiration was some sort of gold corset, and it was going to be Mardi Gras, but decided she looked best just like she is. So this is what we're going to work on, and your template is kind of not really a template, it's more of a guide. This is what February's journal page looks like, and you can grab that from my blog. I will leave a link in the video as well as in the description so you know where to go find this. This is another one of those partial or half-page ones like I did last month, which you can either fold forward this way, that's kind of interesting, or fold it backward and glue the bottom, use it as a pocket, maybe put something over here. So a couple of different options for you. I'll probably just fold it like this, I don't know. Anyway, so that's that, and we'll go ahead and get started with our February Wildly Different corset. I am starting with this dictionary page because it's lightweight, and you're definitely going to want to use something lighter weight, and for lack of anything else, these dictionary pages will work just fine. So it has a natural break down the center. So actually no, I'm not going to fold it. I'm just going to rip it in half. We'll get to the fine tuning later. And you can cut it if you want to. Just set one of these aside. And then here's my guide. And I want to make sure that it at least is going to cover the top and bottom. So I think what I'm going to do is get rid of this side part too. So just rip this off. And then I'm left with this strip, and you want it to be about the length of a regular piece of paper, which this isn't. So I might have to do some gluing. After a little bit of gluing, and it's okay if you need to glue a couple pieces together, you know, it's fine. I mean, when I originally put mine together, then that's what I did too. Anyway, this is about 10 inches long after gluing, and so what I'm going to do is just fold it in half, and that just gives me a guide. So once I've done that, I'm just going to go start gathering along that line. And this is just down and dirty, fast. So I have this wad that looks like this. And you can work with it, flatten it out a little bit. You don't really need to worry too much about it at this point because we're not really at the fine-tuning point yet. And then you're going to take your guide, and you might need to trim off some of this. That's fine too. And you're just going to wrap your gathered paper around your guide. Find that you have too much, you can always thin this out a little bit and cut it off at the back. because you're going to just be cutting up the back anyway, so. I am working this paper around my guide piece. And like I said, if you feel that it's getting too thick in places, then fan it out a little bit. And just keep working it around. And I see that I've got probably a little too much in the back, so I can just rip it off. I've got wild kitties running around the place. And I'm just going to keep working this for a bit off camera until I have it how I like it. I think you have the idea of how this is going, right? So once you have this how you like it, you can either take a string or a piece of paper. I just happen to have this. And wrap it around to hold it in place. Like that, and I'll just glue this at the back. And we're going to end up cutting this off at some point. I mean, you don't have to, but I probably will. We just want something to hold it in place. That's why it can be either a string or a piece of paper, you know, whichever's readily, handily available for you. Once I've got my guide glued in place, I can start working with this, and I'm just going to flatten it. And you can flare it out, you know, the way you like it. But we do want it flattened. And your guide is, I guess it would help if I in the camera's eye. Your guide is actually loose enough that you can move these pleats around the way you like them. So, flare this out to make the breast part. You know, something like that. With this part, just flip it up carefully. I'm just going to work this. Flip it up, kind of following the guide. And this does flip up, if you're careful enough, this does flip up fairly nicely. Until we have something that looks like this. And then you can, what I did was I took some scissors, and these are just some scallop scissors, and you can go trim around the bottom of this. Make it look a little prettier, and it just looks a little nicer if it's a little shorter. Basically, we've got this little designed in ruffle at the bottom. And then for our top, what you can do is you can start maybe gluing some of these pleats down, or I don't know how you want to decorate this. I'm going to leave it up to you. But you can start trimming this. So if we trim the back, kind of like that. However you want. And get something that looks like that. But basically you're going to want to start gluing down these little pleats. And then once you do, you can remove it from your guide and start adding the straps and embellishing it. And if you need to make the waist, you know, we can just even take this off. You have your guide. You could even make the waist come in a little more if you wanted to by flaring out. This does fold very nicely. So if you're folding it and flaring it, you can get a smaller, more curved look to your little corset. So anyway, that's a down and dirty way of doing this, and it'll get you started. So basically you have this more dimensional form than we have been doing in the past. So I think you could have a lot of fun with this. So this is basically what I'm starting with as far as my form goes, and this little pleated skirt down here is actually built into the design of my corset form, so there really isn't much else that I really need to or particularly want to do with this one. You know, sometimes simple is fine. And this one wants to be simple. I mean, I've thought about adding other embellishments, you know, maybe a little more of some lace at the bottom or something like that, but I think I want to leave her rather simplistic. So really the only thing I have left to do is to add the straps and lace her up, and I am going to use the crochet thread like I did in the last one, and basically let her go as is, you know, just nice and simple. Once I get straps added, she looks like this, and I've embellished her with some gold glitter. I think my inspiration was something Mardi Gras looking, kind of, maybe not so wild and crazy obviously, because we didn't go wild and crazy with this, but definitely something gold. So this is how she looks, and she's laced up nicely in the back, so the only thing left to do is to add our hanger. So we can just loop that through, and there she is, Miss February. I don't know what I'll call her yet, but something. Anyway, something new this month, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.